This is 10,000 Hours of Indie, and more specifically the 80 Bands Around the World project. I've set myself the task of seeing 80 independent bands from around the world. There's no time limit, but I can only see one band or artist from each country, and I can't put money into the pocket of Ticketmaster. Simple, right? Well, I'm also based in Finland, which makes it tougher, so I'll need help from any touring bands that come through or event organisers that can help get me to my total of 80. Give me a follow on socials and get in touch if you can help. Links are in the show description. So for this episode I was visiting London for the 80 Bands Around the World project, and it was time to check out something a bit different. I visited a pub in East London called the Victoria, in Dalston to be exact. Nice place, slightly confused when I walked in as there was no performance space, but it turns out they had a fake bookcase in front of the venue side of the place, and that was pretty cool, I thought. So for this, I came to see a band whose members come from all over the former Soviet Union, called, almost obviously, Soviet Underground. They're a five-piece who began life playing covers of 70s and 80s underground Russian post-punk, and eventually released their debut album last year, which is great and well worth a listen. Still in Russian, but that doesn't really matter. This was free entry, so cost me nothing. So a brief review. First up was The Support, a Welsh psychedelic rock four-piece, Epileptic Lizards. They may be branded as a psychedelic rock band, but it was pretty obvious these young guys are influenced by a lot of genres as they ploughed through a set taking in psych rock, funk, prog and more in their 35-minute set. The crowd started small but grew and was appreciative of their music. With three distinctively different vocals on show and a drummer who reminded me of Pink Floyd's Nick Mason for his subtlety and understanding of what was required from each song, this is a band that should have more ears on them in the future. The Soviet Underground took the stage to a pretty full venue. It's probably about 150 to 170 capacity in the Victoria. Alternating between songs from their debut album, covers, and also a new song which they will release later in the year, there was a fair amount of dancing, both from the audience and their keyboard player / hype man, who spent a large part of the set in the audience with a tambourine or dancing behind the guitarists on stage. His energy was contagious. Although singing in Russian, as I mentioned before, it was easy to connect with the music, and there was certainly a decent contingent in the crowd from former Soviet countries, it seems. This was a great set, lively, upbeat, and the band created a real party atmosphere. Maybe because this is their 6th or 7th show in the Victoria, almost a residency. Overall, two great bands who I enjoyed very much. If I'm somewhere either are playing again, I'll certainly be there. So, have I ticked off a new country? Yes. It could have been one of several, but it's probably going to be challenging to find another representative from this country, so I chose country number 5 to be the vocalist and bass player's original homeland, Russia. I spoke with several members of Soviet Underground before their show, and this is what they had to say. Can you introduce the band in under a minute?
So this is Soviet Underground. We come from many places, but what brought us together was love for Soviet rock, specifically late 70s, 80s, 90s. And a lot of us, we live here and we are nostalgic about the music. So we thought, why don't we bring this music over here? Because not many bands play it. There's a few artists who obviously came from the Soviet Union over here, but there's not many nights. So we thought we'd introduce this kind of sound. So we've got Gabor on drums, Vanya on keyboard, we've got Valera on guitar and vocals, Andrea on guitar, and myself bass and vocals as well. We recently released an album which is inspired by the music we play. So our set is basically a blend of our original stuff with our cover songs, which we like, bands like Kino, Zoopark, Zvuki Mu, and sort of in that.
What kind of audiences do you get? Because it's sort of an interesting thing to have here.
Well, we sort of get different type of audiences, and we have a lot of people coming from East London who are members of Club de Mammoth. Different mixed vibes. We had people from the eastern side of the Berlin Wall, like people from Hungary, people from like Moldova, Ukraine, and like all the Eastern European countries. and also even farther east, like China or Japan.
What are you expecting from tonight's show?
We're expecting good crowds. Usually, like we played Victoria at this point 5 or 6 times, I believe, maybe even more. So this is kind of a recurring occasion. Got this residency thing going on. We've had various sizes of crowds, but recently it's been pretty good, I feel. And I think, timing is also good. With the new album out, we've, ever since we started getting our own original audience, I feel that's been going slowly but steadily growing. Yeah.
If you could recommend one track from the band to a new listener, which would it be, and how would they find it, bearing in mind they're all written in Russian?
Well, they are written in Russian, but we don't have English translations, do we? Published, not really. Which one do I recommend? Little Tebeskich?
Maybe the opening track of the album?
Opening, yeah. So it's Nasha Lubov.
Nasha Lubov.
Nasha Lubov is... I think that's kind of a bass-heavy song at the beginning as well. I like that a lot. It's Grisha's song, so Grisha is the guy who has not introduced himself, but he was speaking earlier. I quite like that song. It's been a nice process writing that. We have a video clip for it available. It's GTA-esque aesthetic. Slav, but with a Slavic twist on it. So it starts with a view on a commie block, covering the whole commie block and zooming into one of the windows of the commie block.
But we don't want to be in Gulag.
Yeah, well, no, Gulag is bad, but commie blocks, I feel, we have an attachment to commie blocks. I think all of the countries that we are coming from, they all have Khrushchevkas and their various counterparts. You can find us on Spotify, Instagram, but like all the major streaming platforms, we're available under the name Soviet Underground, and the band name is spelled in Latin, luckily. So
Yes.
you can just search for the band name, and then all the unrecognizable Russian characters will pop up.
Track 1.
And you can just press on some songs.
I was listening to the album earlier, it is good.
Yeah. Track I was talking about is the number 1 track on the album.
Okay. What is the most rock and roll thing this band has ever done?
I've got one, but I'm not going to share it.
Cop out.
And you know exactly what I mean.
So you're not going to share
But for the sake of the story, the most rock and roll thing the band has done, I think the most rock and roll thing the band has done is that we found each other, well, in the middle of a place where, how do people find each other these days? So to me, it's incredible that we managed to, first of all, find each other, agree on music taste, and manage to build a project. So I think, I know you're expecting throwing a TV out the window, or
That was the starting
stealing
point.
something, or drinking too much, but no, we formed, and I think for me that's rock and roll.
That's fair enough. Can you recommend another band from your native country that listeners should check out?
It has to be Kino, because this is one of the bands which we've been we grew up with Kino, our parents grew up with Kino, and I think if any band that brought us together was Kino.
Okay. And you've already answered the last questions, because I was going to say, where can people find out about your music?
Bandcamp. Yeah, we've got some CDs as well, so obviously people can get a hard copy. It's quite nice, but yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.